All right, it says I'm live. What usually happens, though, it will say I'm live, but it will like glitch out until about 30 seconds in. So I'll just give it another 9 or so seconds. But I'm a little grainy. I don't know what the Wi-Fi signal is, if it's strong or not. It looked strong before, but then it just kept going up and down, that little upside down watermelon slice that says Wi-Fi or means Wi-Fi. So here we are. This is Tobacco Road by Erskine Caldwell. Copyright 1932. This is a 1940 copy. It was pretty popular in its day. I love this part, though. Of course, they don't use that anymore. They use this. Oh, shit. You just saw my location. Now I'm doomed. Okay, well, doom and gloom. That's what this book's all about. Not really. It's about poverty in the South. I think it takes place in Georgia. This is chapter 14 I'm on. It's about the Jeters, basically. There's Jeter. It's about, who's it? Lemsey. Jeter is the father of the Lemseys, and then there's Ada, that's his wife, and then there's Ellie Mae. I think she's 18. She's the one with the hair lip. And then there's Dude. I think Dude is 16. He just got married to and Ada. Then there's what's her face? Pearl. Anyway, Bessie had taken Dude to Fuller to buy a car because she had $800 from her husband's passing, and she got a car. Dude drove it back from Fuller, and I think they're back on the Tobacco Road, back at Jeter's home, which I think they were sharecroppers, but Jeter and his family can only live there because of Captain John's kindness to allow them to stay there. Jeter has this plan to sow cotton seeds, but he can't get anything on credit because he's abused it. He needs seed and he needs guano for the fields and a mule to plow the fields, but he's got nothing. He's got no money. His plan is to haul a load of wood into Augusta, Georgia, and sell it for $1. Back in 1932, I don't know what that. But anyway, 75 cents of that dollar needs to go to what? I think would be going to like the loan people who gave him the credit for the seed and the guano and the mule. And then 25 cents would go to buy snuff for Ada and meal and meat for their food, which only lasts a week, which is pretty good. But he never spends the money on that. He always spends it on something else. Anyway, I'm gonna get to it. That was a little synopsis. Oh, sorry, I'm in a lot of physical pain all the time. Here we are. Chapter 14. Dude and Sister Bessie came back at sunset. Dude was blowing the horn a mile away when Jeter first heard it, and he and Ada ran out to the road to watched them come. The horn made a pretty sound, Jeter thought, and he liked the way Dude blew it. He was pressing the horn button and taking his finger off every few seconds, like the firemen who blew the engine whistles when they were leaving the coal chute. That's Dude blowing the horn, Jeter said. Don't he blow it pretty, though? He always liked to blow the horn near about as much as he'd like to drive an automobile. He used to cuss a lot because the horn on my car wouldn't make the least bit of a sound. The wires got pulled loose, and I never had time to tie them up again. Ada stood in the road watching the shiny new car come nearer and nearer. It looked like a big black chariot, she said, running away from a cyclone. The dust blown up behind did look like the approach of a cyclone. Ain't that the prettiest sight to see, she said. That's Dude driving it and blowing the horn. Is that you, Neener? You're such a tiny circle, I can't make you out. It must be. Looks like you. This is down in the neck of the woods, Georgia. I know you don't like Neener, but that's your name now. Sorry. And everybody who watches this is going to know as you as Neener. But anyway, anyone watching this later on, go to Neener's channel, Off Grid Oracle. She pulls cards. And, yeah, I know you're in Missouri, but that's not too far from Georgia. It's a lot closer than New Hampshire. Ow. Anyway, you're been my name since the dawn of humanity. Oh, wow, that's a long time. That blows my mind. I can't even wrap my head around that. Yeah. Is it, like, really hot there right now? Like, can you stand it? You're a Washington girl, so, I mean, I imagine it's a lot different. I was in Washington in September, and, it was cold and raw. There was actually snow up on Hurricane Ridge when I was there. You're welcome, Nina. You're old. I'm old. What are you? I'm 47. I think we're about the same age. Oh, yeah, no, from the dawn of humanity. You're that old. I'm about that old, too. Old souls. Where was I? Oh, yeah, he's talking about, I think Jeter's talking about blowing. It is hot, huh? That's cool. You got Sasquatch in Missouri? I bet you do. I actually had a little brief encounter. Oh, 46 this year. Yeah, we're the same age. Is that? I think technically you're at the end of Generation X, aren't you? Sorry if you're not, because it's the best generation there is. Just ask Angelfish. Okay. It makes a pretty sound when it blows, don't it, Ada? Jeter was proud of his son. I wish all my children was here to see it, Ada said. Lizzie Bell used to like to look at automobiles and ride in them, too. More than anybody I ever saw. Maybe she's got herself one now. I wish I knowed. Sister Bessie and Dude drove up slowly and turned into the yard. Jeter and Ada ran along beside the car until it stopped beside the chimney of the house. Ellie Mae saw everything from around the corner of the house. How far a piece did you go riding? Jeter asked Bessie as she opened the door and stepped onto the ground. You've been gone clear the whole afternoon. Did you go to Augusta? Bessie caught up the bottom of her skirt and began wiping off the dust. Ada and Ellie Mae were already at work on the other side of the car. The grandmother was 30 feet away, standing behind a chinaberry tree and looking around the trunk at the automobile. Dude sat under the steering wheel, blowing the horn. We went till we went clear to McCoy, she said. We just kept on going till we got there. That's about 30 miles, ain't it? Jeter asked excitedly. Did you go clear that far and back? Shadow people, huh? They don't sound very cool. Are they not cool? I actually saw one, I want to say about a month ago, going to my bathroom. Between you and me, I'm a little bit afraid of the dark. Not everywhere, though. It's very odd. Basements creep me out. But anyway, I was going to the bathroom and I saw a shadow person walk into the bathroom, and I was just like, I go in there, and yeah, it wasn't cool. I ain't never been that far away from here before. It's a pretty country down that way too. Why didn't you go to Augusta? Jeter asked. You went down to the crossroads and I thought sure he was going to Augusta. We didn't go that way, Dude said. We went the other way, towards McCoy, and we went clear to McCoy, too. Jeter walked to the front of the car and looked at it. Dude climbed out and stopped blowing the horn for a while. Praise the Lord, Jeter said. What went and done that? He pointed to the right front fender and headlight. Everybody stopped dusting and gathered around the radiator. The fender was twisted and crumpled until it looked as if somebody had taken a sledgehammer and tried to see how completely he could maul it. The right headlight had been knocked off. Only a piece of twisted iron and a small strand of insulated wire remained where it had been. The fender had been mashed back against the hood. It was a wagon what done that, Dude said. We was coming back from McCoy, and I was looking out at a big turpentine still. And then the first thing I knowed, we was smashed smack into the back of a 2-horse wagon. Bessie looked at the mashed fender and missing headlight, but she said nothing. She could hardly blame it on the devil this time, as she had been riding the car herself when the accident occurred. But it seemed to her that God ought to have taken better care of it, especially after she had stopped and prayed about it when she bought the automobile that morning in Fuller. It don't hurt the running of it none, though, does it? Jeter asked. Oh boy. 1348. Where was I? Oh yeah. It runs like it was brand new yet, Dude said. And the horn wasn't hurt none at all. It blows just as pretty as it did this morning. The fender had been crumpled beyond repair. It was lying against the hood of the car, and except for the jagged edges, it appeared as if it had been removed. Apparently nothing else, with the exception of the headlight, had been damaged. There were no dents in the body, and the wheels and axle seemed to stand straight and in line. The broken spring made the left rear end sag, however. Ow. That don't hurt it none, Jeter said. Don't pay no attention to it, Bessie. What the hell's that? That don't hurt it none, Jeter said. Don't pay no attention to it, Bessie. Just leave it be, and you'll never know it was any different than it was when you got it brand new. That's right, she said. I ain't letting it worry me none, because it wasn't Dude's fault. He was looking at the big turpentine still alongside the road, and I was too, when the wagon got in our way. The nigger driving it ought to have had enough sense to get out of our way when he heard us coming. Wasn't you blowing the horn then, Dude? Jeter said. Not right then, I wasn't, because I was busy looking at the big still. I never saw one that big nowhere before. It was almost as big as a corn liquor still, only it wasn't as shiny looking. It's a shame to get the new car smashed up so soon already, though, Bessie said, going back and wiping off the dust. It was brand new only a short time before noon, and now it's only sundown. It was that nigger, Dude said. If he hadn't been asleep on the wagon, it wouldn't have happened at all. He was plumb asleep till it was plumb asleep till and he was still lying in the ditch. The wagon turned over on him and mashed him. His eyes was wide open all the time, but I couldn't make him say nothing. He looked like he was dead. Niggers will get killed. Looks like there ain't no way to stop it. The sun had been down nearly half an hour, and the chill dampness of the early spring night settled over the ground. The grandmother had already gone into the house and got into bed. Ada went up on the porch, hugging her arms across her chest to keep warm, and Bessie started inside too. Dude and Jeter stood around the car until it was so dark they could not see it any longer, and then they went inside too. The glare of Wood's fire soon began to light the sky on the horizons, and the smell of pine smoke filled the damp evening air. Fires were burning in all directions. Some of them had been burning a week or longer, while others had been burning only since that afternoon. In the spring, the farmers burned over all their land. They said the fire would kill the boll weevils. That was the reason they gave for burning the woods and fields, whenever anybody asked why they did not stop burning up young pine seedlings and standing timber. But the real reason was everybody had always burned the woods and fields each spring, and they saw no cause for abandoning lifelong habits. Burning fields and woods seemed to them to be as necessary as... Oh, holy shit. Burning fields and woods seems to them to be as necessary as drilling guano in the cotton fields to make the plants yield a large crop. If the wood that was burned had been sawn into lumber or cut into firewood, instead of burning to ashes on the ground, there would have been something for them to sell. Boll weevils were never killed in any great numbers by the fire. The cotton plants had to be sprayed with poison in the summer anyway. But everybody had always burned over the land each spring, and they continued, if only for the reason that their fathers had done it. Jeter always burned over his land, even though there was no reason in the world why he should do it. He never raised crops anymore. This was why the land was bare of anything except broom sedge and blackjack. Blackjack is the wood that Jeter chops up and hauls to Augusta, or tries to. He hasn't done it for nearly a decade. The sedge grew anew each year, and the hottest fire could not hurt those tough scrub oaks. Inside the house, the women gathered in the bedroom in the darkness and waited for Jeter and Dude. The grandmother was already in bed, covered with her ragged quilts. Ellie Mae had gone out in the broom sedge and had not yet returned. Bessie and Ada sat on the beds waiting. The three beds had always held all the Lesters, even when there was sometimes as many as 8 or 9 of them there. Occasionally, some had slept on pallets on the floor in summer, but in winter it was much warmer for everyone in the beds. Now that all of the children had left except Dude and Ellie Mae, there was just enough room for everyone. Bessie had a house of her own, a 3-room tenant house in the last sandhill at the river. But the roof was rotten and the shingles had blown away, and when it rained, everything in the 3 rooms was soaked with water. Sometimes in the middle of the night, when a storm came up suddenly, Bessie would wake up to find the bed filled with water, every piece of her clothes wet, and more water pouring down through the roof. She had told Ada that she did not want to stay there anymore until she could have a new shingle roof put on the house. The building and land around it belonged to Captain John Harmon. He never came out to the Tobacco Road anymore, and he made no repairs to the buildings. He had told Jeter and Bessie, and all the other people who lived out there, that they could stay in the houses until the buildings rotted to the ground, and that he would never ask for a penny of rent. They understood the arrangement fully. He was not going to make any repairs to the roof, porches, rotted undersills, or anything about the buildings. If the houses fell down, he said, it would be too bad for them, but if they stood up, then Jeter, Bessie, and all the others could remain in them as long as they wanted to stay. Jeter and Dude came into the house, stumbling through the darkness. There was a lamp in the house, but no kerosene had been bought that whole winter. The Lesters went to bed at dark, except in summer, when it was warm enough to sit on the porch, and they got up at daylight. There was no need for kerosene anyway. Jeter sat down on the bed beside Ada and pulled off his heavy shoes. The brogans fell on the floor like bricks dropped waist high. We stopped in every house we came to and got out and visited a while, Bessie said. Some of them didn't want prayer, and some of them wanted prayer, and some didn't. It didn't make much difference to me because me and Dude was all excited about riding around. Some of the people wanted to know where I got all the money to buy a brand new car, and why I was married to Dude. And I told them my former husband left me $800, and I said I married Dude because I was going to make a preacher out of him. Of course, that was only one reason why we got married, but I knew that would be enough to tell him. Ow. Nobody said things against you, did they, Sister Bessie? Jeter asked. Some people has got a way of talking about people like us. Excuse me. Oh boy. Where was I? Well, some of them did say a few things about me marrying Dude. They said he was too young to be married to a woman my age. But when they started talking like that, we just got in our new automobile and rode off. A lot of them said it was a sin and a shame for to take my husband's money and to buy an automobile and get married to a young boy like Dude. But while they was doing the talking, me and Dude was doing the riding, wasn't we, Dude? Dude did not answer. I reckon Dude has gone to sleep, Jeter said. He worked pretty hard today driving that automobile clear to McCoy and back again. Ada sat up in bed. Take them overalls off, Jeter, she said angrily. I ain't never seen the like of it. You know I ain't going to let you sleep in bed with them dirty pants on. I have to tell you about it nearly every time. They dirty up the bed something bad. You ought to know I ain't going to stand for that. It's pretty cold again tonight, Jeter said. I get chilly when I don't sleep with my overalls on. It seems like I can't do nothing no more I want to. Sleeping in overalls ain't going to hurt nothing, no way. You're the only man I ever knowed of who wanted to sleep in his overalls. Nobody else do that. Jeter did not answer her. He got up out of bed and climbed out of his overalls and hung them on the foot of the bed and tried to look through the darkness of the room. You know, Bessie, he said, it sort of makes me feel good like I was before I lost my health to have a woman preacher sleep in my house. It's a fine feeling I had about you staying here. I'm a woman preacher, all right, she said, but I ain't no different in other ways from the rest of the women folk. Jeter, you know that, don't you? Jeter raised himself up on his elbow and strained his eyes to see through the darkness across the room. I hope you ain't leaving us no time soon, he said. I'd be powerful pleased if you have to sleep here all the time. Bessie? Ada thrust her elbow into his ribs with all her strength, and he fell down groaning with pain on the bed beside her. Bessie could be heard getting into her bed. The corn-shuck mattress crackled, and the slats rattled as she lay down and stretched out her feet. She lay still for several minutes, and then she began to stretch her hands out towards the other side, the impact of her arms making the chucks crackle more than ever. Suddenly she sat up in bed, throwing the quilts aside. Where's Dude? She demanded angrily, her voice gruff and unnatural. Where is you, Dude? Not a sound was to be heard in the room. Ada had sat upright, and Jeter had sprung to a sitting position on the side of the bed. Bessie's corn-shuck mattress crackled some more, and then the thump of her bare feet on the pine floor could be heard all over the house. Jeter did not attempt to speak or to move. He waited to catch every sound in the house. You Dude! You Dude! Bessie cried from the center of the room, trying to feel her way from bed to bed. Where is you, Dude? Why don't you answer me? You'd better not try and hide from me, Dude. What's the matter, Bessie? Jeter said. Dude ain't in the bed. I can't find him nowhere at all. Reaching for his overalls, Jeter jumped to his feet. He began fumbling in his pockets for a match. At last he found one, and bending over, he struck it on the floor. The flare of the match revealed every one in the room, Everyone was there except Ellie Mae and Dude. Bessie was only a few feet away from Jeter, and he tried to look at her. She was shielding her eyes from the light. Ada crawled out of bed and stood behind Jeter the moment she saw Bessie. "Put them overalls on," she commanded Jeter. "I don't know what you and her is up to, but I'm watching. You put them overalls on right now. I don't care if she is a woman preacher. She ain't got no right to stand on the floor in front of you like she is." Jeter hesitated, and the match burned down to his fingers. He stepped into his overalls, put one arm through a gallus, and reached into one pocket for another match. Bessie was still standing beside Jeter. But when he struck the match, she ran to Mother Lester's bed. She jerked back the covers and saw Dude sound asleep. The grandmother was awake, and she lay trembling in her old torn black clothes. Jeter shook Jude awake and pulled him to the floor. Ada jerked him by the arm. "What you mean by not getting in bed with Bessie?" Jeter demanded, shaking him roughly by the collar. Dude looked around him and blinked his eyes. He was unable to see anything in the flare of the match. "What do you want?" he asked, rubbing his eyes. "Dude, he didn't know which bed to get in," Sister Bessie said tenderly. "He was so tired and sleepy he didn't look to see which one was going to sleep in. Did you, Dude?" "Dude, you can't act that way," Jeter said. "You got to keep your eyes open when you get married. Bessie here got powerful nervous when she didn't find you in bed." Ada went back to bed, and Jeter followed her. He did not take off his overalls, and Ada went to sleep without thinking about them. Ellie Mae came in after a while and got into bed with her grandmother. No one spoke to her. The grandmother had been wide awake all the time, but no one said anything to her, and she did not try to tell Bessie that Dude was in her bed. No one ever said anything to her, except to tell her to get out of the way, or to stop eating the bread and meat. Dude and Bessie went to their bed and lay down. Sister Bessie tried. And that's the end of chapter 14. I'm going to come back after I stop this and read chapter 15, but I got to take a piss. Tobacco Road by Erskine Caldwell, 1932. Thanks for listening and watching, if you're here. Thanks, Neener. Off-Grid Oracle at Off-Grid Oracle. She does card pulls, and she'll pull you a card too if you want to have one. She usually will give you the option